Welcome to the M1 Platinum Show. I'm your humble host, and today we're going to be talking about whether or not Chaos will be able to come back into the meta as being a force. Konami in the past has shown that they are extremely resilient to the idea. Examples such as Dimensional Fissure, Macrocosmos, one being banned and the other one being limited. They just look at it as just being in the way. But there have been some signs of improvement from their perspective, such as the new elemental hero, Contrast Hero Chaos, I believe his name was. And basically what it looks like is that with elemental hero, you're actually going to be able to side in some, not side in, but like add in some chaos elements into that deck, which I actually found to be extremely interesting, because it also, they have that new hero coming out, 1000 attack, 1500 defense. I do not remember what his name was, but you can search him out with emergency, emergency call, 3 reinforcement of the armies. You could search him out very, very easily. He's actually, I'm really excited about that card being released. I mean, I've known of his existence for quite a while, but I never really thought of actually like teching in some chaos cards into the deck. Like you could throw in a Blackluster or a Dark Armed Dragon or a Chaos Sorcerer probably for the archetype. And basically that way I think Chaos Sorcerer would be best, because that way he wouldn't be dead in your hand, because you could use Polymerization on him, or you could use, if you have him out on the field already, Miracle Fusion. I mean, the deck does have some powerful cards, like Absolute Zero. Great Tornado, which is actually really interesting. Like, he doesn't just destroy stuff, but he just, obliterates the attack powers on your opponent's field. And then you have Parallel World Fusion, which basically, if you have that and Miracle Fusion in your hand, you're just like, wow, this is really cool. And I'm actually really fascinated by the deck, and I actually think I'm going to play with some of those style decks on DevPro, because I believe those cards are OCG, or they're not legal anywhere right now, I'm not sure. But I did build the deck a little bit in DevPro, and I'm still going to continue playtesting it, just because it is a really cool kind of deck style. It's very creative. Originally when I saw Elemental Heroes, I thought they were kind of tacky, like, comic book heroes. But if you kind of look at it as they're not elemental superheroes, just as elemental hero, as in they're like a character out of a story that did something amazing. Like, instead of them just being like a Cape Crusader, which they're kind of, advertised as, it's just when you look at Great Tornado, it's like they're from different dimensions or something, which actually looks really cool. Like they were from a dimension and they help, protect a group of people or something like that. You see Absolute Zero, he's water. You see Great Tornado, he's wind. You see Goka or something, he's fire. They're just all really cool, and I'd really like to get into building that. And then in addition to that, I do think that there are some builds out there that actually do well to some of the meta. Like, I believe that it's called Anti-Meta Stun, that people have run for forever, of course, but I once ran a deck that I built, like, literally on DevPro. It took me like 2 minutes to build it, including the extra deck. It had 3 copies of a different dimension assailant in there, and with the 3 copies of it in there, I couldn't help but notice, but if I ran to a construct, I would attack it, I'd lose 1200 life points, or I'd set it and then they would attack it, and it would completely get their monster out of play. It basically slows any deck it goes against down to as slow as it is, as long as you have some good draw power, like Upstarts and Reckless Greeds. Like, a lot of people don't like to put in Reckless. However, just playing it the way you should, to where you don't play Reckless until you have 2 copies of it in your hand, which, of course, that we know from deck stacking isn't that hard to do. But basically, once you do that, it would actually be like really cool to experiment with. And there's actually some cool rarities of that card. There's a super, there's, I think, a Shatterfoil, and not sure there's a secret, but if that's the case, you could just have a really cool looking deck in addition. And it doesn't cost, like the Anti-Meta Stun, I believe, doesn't cost that much if it weren't for the extra deck. But of course, with $150 or $200 being a budget deck anymore, I really think that it's a really good investment if you don't have that much money. But given, there's some other deck styles, like I believe they said Burning Abyss is actually dropped to like 250 or lower. And when you look at that, it's like that was the best deck of, second best deck to Queen Ports in several tournaments that have come out. And with heroes, I do believe that, not heroes, but like chaos, chaos heroes could be a thing, which is really cool. Like, I'd really like to see some other, hero cards come out, like some fusions or a hero exceed. I could totally see Konami getting on board on that, but just not putting it on tins or anything. And I do think that eventually we all saw Chaos Emperor Dragon come off of the OCG list. And a lot of people think that before the end of next year, he's going to come off the list of the TCG. And when I look at that, I just thought, yes, because Chaos Emperor Dragon is my favorite card in the entire game. He obliterates even a Shaddoll deck, even though their effects activate after being sent to the graveyard, it doesn't matter because it inflicts damage. Like, basically your opponent has 3,000 life points, you play it and send 11 cards to the graveyard, and that ends up being around 3,000, and then you win. And it's just, and they're just like, what happened? But even against Shaddolls, it was still obliterated. Of course, there's going to be errata on it, and I think that even with the errata, it's probably errata. It'll probably be pay 2,000 life points and destroy all cards on the field, but don't inflict damage to your opponent's life points or something like that. Even if that's the case, I would still play it, especially if you're running something like Dragon Roller, because then you can just pop your monsters out of the graveyard and just attack for a game. Or it does that and your opponent doesn't take damage. I could totally see them doing that. If that's the case, then I would probably run 2 copies of it and just run it as a second or a third Blackluster Soldier, or just to get another beat stick on the field. Even if that's the case, Blackluster Soldier stands by himself as being the strongest beater. Like, you have those dragons that came out in the structure deck. One is 2,500 attack, one is 2,400 attack, I believe. And those guys, basically, that was more of a hieratic based deck. It was just as an exceed spam style deck, and I didn't really enjoy it that much because its playstyle was slow. I mean, I believe none of those actually exist in the meta today anymore, not even as like rogue decks. I mean, no offense to you hieratic players out there. You could make some really cool decks off of those, but I just don't think that anybody runs that anymore from what I've seen at least. And I would really like to see Chaos come back. Like, not as an archetype. I can see how it'd be tempting to do that because then you can kind of brand it and sell it and stuff, which isn't a bad thing. But when it's turned into an archetype, it's too obvious what cards go together, and basically anyone that can just type in on eBay, say Shaddoll, they type that in, Shaddoll cards Yu-Gi-Oh, they're gonna buy up all the different types they can find, and some people that aren't even that like that into the game might even spend $30 for a card just simply because they want to have the whole set, So, really excited about Chaos, like the idea of Chaos coming back. Is it coming back anytime soon? I don't think so. Based on, I think it could start coming back with the Hero Structure deck, and after that, you could see lots of cool cards stemming off of that release. Okay, guys, thank you for watching. This has been the Animal Platinum Show. Make sure to check out my channel, like my videos, and subscribe to my channel. And as always, thank you for watching. See you guys next time.